Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle.
It's Michelle.
Always Michelle.
That was a pretty mellow, some might say tepid. It's Michelle. Michelle, are you feeling all right tonight?
You know, they're going to have to go listen to the Michelle in Review episode. I think I exhausted myself with anger.
Well, and also just, man, I went back and checked real quick, Michelle, when I'm done. Guys, we just literally got done 20 minutes ago recording the Michelle in Review. We're pulling a doubleheader tonight. I double-checked. It's going to be just shy of 2.5 hours.
I love that our longest episodes are that and Saw.
Yeah. Well, we talked about 7 movies for 3 hours. What the hell were we thinking? Let's never do that again.
If we ever get Saw 11, which it's rumored to have been canceled, there's been issues in production, but if we get that, we're doing a Saw 2.0, and we're talking about the other films.
Well,
okay,
we're
Jenna
definitely
will
not
be a
going to...
guest, and you will sit there on mute.
What I'm saying is we're not going to go back and watch the ones we already watched and talked about again.
We might not. I am.
Okay, so we're talking about 825 Forest Road today, guys. We are.
And I'm talking about Saw. We are talking about 825 Forest Road. I am talking about Saw.
Well, get it out of your system.
JD, hang on.
I'm hanging on. What?
Oh no.
What's happening right now?
Okay, hang on. I gotta put my headphones back in. Okay. What was that? Okay.
I said, what's happening right now?
I impulse bought something.
Oh,
and this
Lord.
is a great time to show you. They had a Saw figurine.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It says at the top, how much blood would you shed to stay alive? And inside, it's got him in his robe. And there's the puppet and the bike. When you read the back, the accessories he comes with includes Billy with tricycle, reverse bear trap, tape recorder, removable blade, and interchangeable heads and hands.
Yeah,
get it.
That interchangeable heads and hands things is a thing that like prestige action figure toys like that have been doing for a while. It's
so weird.
It's especially interesting to me because a lot of the people who are collecting that sort of stuff are never going to take them out of the package. So why all the accessory? But I've got several things like that. Now, it is pretty cool. I'll be totally honest with you. If it was the kind of thing that I just came across in the clearance aisle at Walmart, which is where I get all of my little random toys, I definitely would have bought it. Like, no question about it.
It's ridiculous. When I was down in, I think
is
it
that
was
a
Vegas.
NECA? Like on the package, is it NECA NECA?
Oh no, this is a NECA.
Yeah.
Nice. I hadn't even looked.
They do so much cool shit. I'm pretty sure all but one of the various figures I have is a NECA figure.
I think my first figure I bought myself was an Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed, one of my favorite protagonists. And he came with multiple hands, and that's really the only reason I got it, because I was like, what's the fucking point of this? I was like, I love Ezio. I don't know why he needs many hands, but I'll take it.
For sure.
Yeah, he's still in the box, just posing with his variations of his hands.
I have an AEW Prestige Edition Penta El Cerro Miedo where he's got like 3 different outfits that he can wear, and he's got, I think, 2 different title belts and half a dozen different hands. I think there's like 3 different heads. It's ridiculous.
You gotta have all that head.
Here's the great thing about it: like original retail on it is like I think it's either $50 or $60, and I got it in the Walmart clearance aisle for $10.
Oh, love Walmart. I mean, I don't,
but their clearance aisle is pretty rad.
Yeah,
I'm a clearance shopper. I'll pop into a clearance section wherever I go if I see one. I'm always gonna swing by there. You'll find some gems.
I always head just far back in the far corners of whatever store I'm in, and people hate it. They're like, you're not even going to look at the full price shit. No, I am on a mission.
No, absolutely.
Where are your shoes?
I need savings.
Shoes.
So we were going to talk about 825 Forest Road.
Yeah, now we are. I had to show you my figurine. I got so excited because I tried taking a picture of it, but I kept reflecting myself in the camera, and I went, that's not going anywhere except for in my camera reel. No one is seeing that picture at all, so I haven't been able to get a good picture of it, but I love it. I'm so happy.
It does look pretty dope.
Yeah. I almost bought, what I was going to say is when I was in Vegas, I almost bought the $80 Saw figurine, which was like a foot tall pig mask one, and I was very tempted. And I might buy it someday. Might
go back to Vegas just to buy it.
No, I found it cheaper online. That's the reason I didn't buy it in store. But then it's not as fun not impulse buying it, so that I could stop myself.
Cool.
825 Forest Road.
825 Forest Road, written and directed by Stephen Cognetti, the guy who gave us the Hell House LLC franchise, which is 4 films at this point. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah, there's Hell House LLC and Hell House LLC 2 Abaddon, I think.
Yes.
And then
Lake of Fire.
L3 is Lake of Fire, and then 4 is
Carmichael
Manor. Yeah.
And then this last one is Lineage.
Oh, yeah, that's one. Well, that's one that's coming up. But this is 825 Forest Road, and this is not a Hell House LLC movie. It's the first feature film that Stephen Cognetti has ever done that's not a Hell House LLC feature. It's the first feature he's done that's not a found footage film. And so that's pretty much everything I knew about it going in. What did you know going in, Michelle?
I knew it was Stephen
Cognetti.
Mr. Stephen. Yeah. I knew it was him, and so that made me excited.
Right, because you're definitely a bigger fan of the Hell House LLC franchise than I am, especially if I remember correctly, specifically the first film, yeah?
Yeah, I don't love the franchise, but that first one is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and I love it. It's perfectly executed.
Cool. And then I also, I'm not a big fan of the franchise myself overall. I did think there was some stuff in that fourth one, the where they added the footage from 1970s or whatever family film reels to the more modern found footage stuff. I thought that was pretty cool, but I definitely was interested in seeing, because the guy's clearly a skilled director, right? He knows how to do spookums, and so I was definitely curious to see what he could do when he stepped out of that found footage world, and that's where we are with 825 Forest Road. Do you want to read a description script?
Sure, I'll just read the one on IMDb.
It's a good one.
Yeah. After a family tragedy. What?
Oh, I was going to say the one on Shudder is even shorter, but I prefer the one on IMDb.
Good, because that's the one I have in front of me. So, after a family tragedy, Chuck Wilson hopes to start a new life in Ashland Falls with his wife Maria and little sister Isabel, but he quickly discovers that the town has a dark secret. 825 Forest Road, 2025. An hour, 41 minutes. JD.
Yeah.
You want to hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah, first, before I get too far into my spoiler-free thoughts, I do want to say that I object to the use of little sister Isabel in that description. I think little sister implies, I think, a very young, she's his younger sister, but she's she's a young adult as well. I didn't mean to get, what?
My siblings are all younger. I'm the oldest of 5, and I still call them my little siblings.
Well, you should stop. Anyway.
TJ is 30 now, and he's 31. Oh, my God. Life.
Yeah.
Jess is 21. No, older than 21. How old are they? 26. Anyway, Michelle does math. Can
I do my spoiler freeze?
Yeah, you're the one who brought up math. It's your fault.
You're right. It is my fault. So this movie is an hour and 41 minutes long, and that's about 20 minutes longer than I feel it needed to be. The interesting thing about this to me, and obviously I'll talk about it in more detail in the spoiler section, but frankly, I was a little disappointed at how not different from what he's done before this is. There are obviously some specific differences, but I'll break down, like, there's so much about how this movie was made, and also specific elements in the plot, which I know you know what I'm talking about right off the bat. I was a little let down by how similar this was to the Hell House franchise. I do think Stephen Cognetti is, again, a very talented director so far as the spookums go. There are moments in this that really got me. I think it's atmospherically well done. Overall, I feel like what I've discovered over 5 feature films now is I like him as a director. I feel like he needs somebody to help him with his stories. And so that's where I come down on this one. I gave it a 2 out of 5.
Okay. JD gave it a 2 out of 5.
Oh, and there are also, like, inconsistencies in the plot that I'm going to talk about, and, like, things about it that I just couldn't get past and let myself get drawn up into it. So, anyway, Michelle, your spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah, I love the way that you just explained that you like his directing and think his writing, he needs a writing buddy, because 100%. I have only seen him do found footage movies, Hell House and all of that. And the first Hell House is perfection as far as I'm concerned. Then the next 3 don't really do it for me. I think if I recall, I think the third was the one that I like. No, maybe that was the one I hated.
That's the one where it's about hated. Jesus?
Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, I've only seen the other ones like twice and never again, hopefully. But Hell House LLC, masterpiece. So I'm like, hey, this guy does a lot of found footage. It's going to be interesting to see what he does when he's just telling a story in whatever creative manner he decides with a static camera that is not handheld it's not part of the universe. So I was curious, and what I did not expect was to love his camera work. I think there must have been something in him doing found footage and figuring out, like, okay, well, at this camera at this moment we have to catch this thing, so the camera has to be pointed here in a believable way, and this is how we're going to do that. And I think being able to see a scene like that helped him form these ideas of, like, how he wanted things framed and shot. That actually worked out really well in this film.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. I have specific points to make about that exact thing.
Excellent. What I did not expect was to really not care for the acting, the script, and or both. I don't know what is wrong, but something is wrong. And I dislike that so much that it took away a lot of the other stuff in the movie for me, unfortunately. I don't know if it was the acting or the writing. The dialogue just felt so forced, and I was like, they are not adding any nuances to this at all. It's just in your face. Like, every bit of dialogue is like, here's more exposition. Wow, that's your sister from college who will be staying with you, correct? Oh, she is still going to college with a scholarship, correct? Like, it's so unnatural. I was debating 1.75, but there are some things that I like. I will also go a 2. It's been a while since we matched, I think. So
2 out of 5. I do want to point out I was being a little cheaty. I stayed up and I watched this literally the moment it dropped on Shudder. It dropped at about 3:25. I may have been the first person to watch it, or one of the very first, because by the time I was done with it, there still weren't any reviews from other users posted. I entered one very quickly that it was very much a 5 o'clock in the morning kind of review, but I think it sums up my thoughts very, very succinctly. And that review just said, of all the movies I've ever seen, this is the most recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
So let me ask you this, Michelle, before we get into spoilers. Do you think people who are big fans in general of the Hell House franchise are maybe going to like this a bit more than we did?
No, I don't think that. No, I'm saying, like, this movie, your enjoyment or dislike of Hell House will have no impact on how you feel about this.
Oh, really? That's interesting. We'll have some things to talk about for sure.
I mean, there are similarities, but I don't think those similarities are strong enough to say, like, if you like one, you might like the other, or if you dislike one, you might dislike the other, or even if you like it, you might dislike this other one. Like, I don't think there's enough there that you can say, like, just watch it as an independent thing and see how you feel.
I don't know, Michelle. There are a few crucial elements to this movie that are plucked directly out of crucial elements in the Hell House franchise.
That is correct. But they are such plot points that I'm like, I don't think they're going to influence. There are a couple things.
Should we just get into the spoiler section at this point?
Yeah, but I will say that whether you like Hell House or not, I'll stick by it. I don't think, because I love Hell House and I did not like this.
Well, no, you love the first Hell House movie. You said you're not a big fan of the franchise as a whole. What I'm saying is,
maybe if you like Hell House 2, you'll like this movie.
No, and that's what I'm saying is, for people who are across the board fans of the franchise, I think if you like all four of those films, there is more of a likelihood that you'll be able to enjoy this more than we did, is ultimately what I'm getting at.
And I think that if you like Greek yogurt, you're less likely to like this movie. See, I can draw parallels too.
Well, mine at least makes sense. Anyway, spoiler section.
There's a kitchen in here.
Spoiler section. We're gonna get into spoilers now. If you don't want any spoilers before you have a chance to watch the movie, this is where you're going to want to temporarily stop listening. Come back when you're all done. And as per usual, that's the thing the kids still say, right? Per usual, Michelle is going to kick this whole thing off with her always enjoyable, always entertaining plot summary. We need a name for this, and I think we need to hire the Kamikaze Snowmen to write us a little like a mid-show jingle for Michelle's plot summary.
I love the idea of hiring our musician friends to do a mid-show jingle, but still just stealing Shudder's theme song for our opening music.
That would be fabulous.
Just like, no, we don't care. We own this now.
I did talk to them just briefly, and it's something I still want to do. I have talked to them about writing a song for us, but using it as a post-show song, as a closer No, we will until, and they won't because I did this specifically. That clip is 9 seconds long.
Yep.
Specifically because I'm under fair use, they'll never be able to do anything about it. Suck on that, Shudder. Anyway.
I like the idea of the Kamikaze Snowman doing a cover of that Shudder. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh man, we're gonna have to talk to them about trying to figure out a way to do that with the song, so we can use it as like an end of the show song. That's so rad. Oh
and a mid-show song and
a jingle.
Show song.
Yeah,
just
we need
the entire show just has that dun dun.
Just like, I gotta go deal with the dog. Here's the Kamikaze Snowman on a loop for 7 minutes.
Oh, I'd listen to some other stuff on a loop for 7 minutes. I don't know if I'd listen to dun dun dun, even if it was done by the Snowman. Okay.
Anyway, go ahead. Yes.
Dear God. Okay, so plot summary. I just remembered, I'm pretty sure that when we did the most recent Hell House Carmichael Manor episode, that I gave one of the most lackluster plot summaries because I just didn't enjoy it. And at the end, you were like, that is the lowest energy. And I just felt like a surge of that, like, rush into me again. Of just like, remember when you gave the worst plot summary because you were so indifferent to what happened? Kind of a little bit of that going on in here. So we have a family, an unconventional family. There's a husband and a wife and a little sister who's an adult and goes to college, and that bothers JD. Not because she's called a little sister as an adult, but because she's a woman learning. How dare she? Why is she not rearing children? So Natalie is that lady's name, and then we got
no, her name is Isabel.
Nope. Yep, that's right. I was looking at the wrong person on IMDb. Is she even listed in, like, the top cast? Where the fuck is Isabel? She's sixth from the bottom.
Are they in order of appearance, maybe?
No, they definitely are not, because Terrence
they're
is the
definitely
first person. Terrence is not the first person.
Yeah,
in this
Larry's
movie.
way up at the top there. Yeah, this is, I don't know what's going on here, but they did
I don't
not.
know who wrote this, but you know what? I feel like the IMDb cast listing perfectly reflects this movie and the experience that I had
fair.
with it.
That's fair.
So Izzy, Maria, and Chuck. I keep blanking on that name. It would be much easier if they were all in the same order that they should be in some sort. Chuck is the last person
and he doesn't even have a picture. He's one of the three main characters of the movie, and he's the last name in the cast list. Who did this?
Yeah. I mean, I was asking myself that throughout the movie. Who did this? Okay, so
I'll tell you who. Cognetti. That's. I was telling you who did it. It was Cognetti.
I know. I heard. Cognetti.
Okay.
He did it.
Cognetti. Go ahead.
Cognetti. Hey, I said his name correctly that time. Although I'm just mimicking how you say it, and I hope you're saying it wrong so that I still can't pronounce the fucking name correctly.
It's like a weird like diphthong
Cognac.
thing where it's like a somewhere between a T and an R. Same as like Mario.
The letter S?
Yeah, you either get Mario or Madio out of it, Maddio or Mario, but it's really the same name, and it's just a weird diphthong kind of vocalization. Mario.
I think you ignored how clever my response was.
I probably was just too busy ranting about diphthongs.
It was really good, so I'm going to repeat it.
Please do.
You said it's between a T and an R, and I said, oh, so an S. Okay, I'm glad I repeated it because that expression was great. Okay, I know the alphabet. Anyway, do these people in this movie know the alphabet? Definitely not if it's in alphabetical order, because these people make no fucking sense. So we got Chuck, Izzy, Maria. Down to the plot. They buy a house. Ooh, a spooky house where a man has died. We've seen that before. And then you know what? Oh my God, Cognetti loves Mr. Steven. You know what he loves? He loves a spooky mannequin. Gotta put one of those in here. And this isn't a found footage movie, but we got one of those segments, two of those segments, just for the hell of it. So we start and it says part 1 Chuck, and we go, oh, part 1 Chuck, what are the other parts? We don't know yet. It's a fraction, and we don't know how many numbers are in the denominator. So Chuck is part 1. He is the numerator, just Chuck. And so he figures out that some weird stuff's going on in this town, and everyone's like, whoa, don't make her mad. Oh no, some books are stacked. There's a creepy lady who's distraught in your library. Nobody should escort her out. Weird stuff happens. And then he finds out the whole legend that's going on at this town. What's the legend? Who fucking cares at this point in the movie? It'll become more important later. Then we get part 2, and part 2 is his sister Izzy, and she's in college, and she has depression, and those are her 2 defining features, which, same, I am also in college and have depression.
Also, she blames herself for killing her mom.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty good reason to have depression. Mine's just a chemical imbalance. But yeah, so mental health is a big part. And I messaged JD because one of my favorite moments of this movie is when the neighbor is talking to Chuck, and he's like, this town has a lot of suicide, and the people most vulnerable are the ones who have depression. Yeah, that's not a revelation.
I know.
That's how mental health works. That's just...
that was, yeah.
That's a brilliant resolution.
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
I appreciate what was being said here, and it is a good, but it harkens to, there are things about the dialogue in this movie, the way they're written. I'll talk about more of it a little later. Sorry, I didn't mean to
that part. Oh man, it cracked me up. So then we see her go throughout her day, and she learns a little bit more about this legend. And there's a lady, and she possesses you. And honestly, I kind of stopped caring when they actually explained the legend. But basically, all these people have been gone looking for 825 Forest Road, because that can stop the curse, or however you want to put it. It's kind of like an ambiguous, because it's not a haunted house, it's not a possession. It's just, so I don't know how to put it in a very succinct manner. So I'm not gonna fucking bother. Yes, JD.
Well, the idea is that 825 Forest Road was Helen Foster's home when she killed all those people, and then it killed herself, I think.
Yeah, but what's going to happen if they find it? I'm not clear.
They got to burn it to the ground.
Oh, that's the plan? Just burning it to the ground?
Yeah,
nobody tells them that will stop it.
There's
a lot of assumptions.
No, there's something earlier on where somebody mentions it, but or that you have to find and destroy her home, and that'll take. I know there's, maybe they don't specifically mention burning it down, but it's regardless. What I will say is I totally understand how you might have missed it, and that's the important part.
Yeah, because I was like, I know that they have to find it, and it's going to stop this stuff happening to the people in this town. Depressed people killing themselves. So I know it's going to stop that, but I'm not clear how.
So
or
not
who said
funny,
that.
but it is in the context of
because
God.
It's such a stupid statement, and I can make fun of it because I have tried to kill myself. So you know what? Fuck it. Oh no, Helen Foster has visited me as well. So anyway, that's the whole point. And now we're going to watch things from Maria's point of view. And guess what? She has bipolar disorder. So really this movie was just made about me, huh? So she's like, nobody understands me. Once I was just entering a fugue state and stared off for a while. And Chuck got really nervous. And I was like, yeah, that's what marriage is about, right? That's just a normal thing in marriage, because been there, girl. I'd go to an art gallery with you to talk about it. So she's like, she's a little broken too, and I get that. And she's broken because she does a lot of sewing. I don't know, all my depressed friends, self included, are really into knitting or crocheting or cross-stitching or making quilts, or all of us are kind of sad girls, and that's our way of coping. So apparently bipolar disorder means you're really good with fabric, because same. So some creepy stuff happens because she's a vlogger with these making clothes things. She also has no survival skills whatsoever, and we'll talk about that. But this girl, just no idea. She's a little innocent fawn in a forest full of wolves and has no idea what to do about it. I have a small rant. We'll get to that later. But then at the end, she essentially becomes possessed and starts talking about the things that Helen Foster did and how her daughter was bullied. And at the same time this is happening, Chuck and Izzy find the house, and then Izzy realizes that she's thought of this moment and drawn it up before, and then a hand comes around the corner, and it's such a lackluster ending because it goes into slow motion. He runs forward, and then the hand takes Izzy, and that's the ending. It's just no resolution, no nothing. It's so anticlimactic.
Oh, I mean, there's a little epilogue right after it where they talk about how Izzy and Chuck just disappeared and never came back and all of that.
But that's the last thing on filmed. I don't care about reading.
No, it's not reading. There's a section in the movie called epilogue, and there are shots from the house where they're looking at this desk, and the movie ends on a close-up on a photo of Izzy and Chuck when they were younger.
Yes, we're saying the same thing. I'm saying that's a very boring way to end a movie.
No, I thought what you were saying is that the movie ended as soon as Izzy and Chuck get pulled into that room.
No, it just, as far as I'm concerned, the movie ended at that moment.
Also, you caught on that the whole gimmick was that 825 Forest Road wasn't Helen Foster's house at all, right?
It was the parents or the family that was bullying her daughter. So that's kind of a neat reveal. What I was going to say is that this movie would have been improved if None of that photo stuff at the end. Just when the hand reached around and grabbed Izzy, the sound effect it played was yoink and just took her. I would have accepted that ending a lot more than the ending we got. Like just a little yoink, like the lady monster ghost lady could have said it, and that would have been really good if she vocalized, like, because if I was out there snatching people and killing them, I would definitely give a little yoink and make myself giggle, and then they'd be dead and they wouldn't be able to tell anybody how funny it was, but I'd know, and that would keep me going.
That would be
anyway.
A good time.
825 Forest Road.
So I do also just want to quickly further clarify. So you mentioned that you know that 825 Forest Road was actually the house where the bully lived, where Helen Foster had actually done the killing, but did you catch the part where the house that Chuck and Izzy and Maria lived in was Helen Foster's house at 15 Rose Lane?
I didn't think that was Helen Foster's. I thought that was the parents of the because he finds the letter addressed to his address and to those parents.
No,
it was the return address. I forgot how
it was the return
work.
address. Yes, the return address. So it turns out 15 Rose Lane, which we learned earlier was the old address for that house. They've been living in Helen Foster's house this whole time.
And see, that's kind of disappointing because I forgot how
there.
envelopes work, and I thought it was way cooler that the idea that this is where the bully lived, and that's why bad shit is happening to them. The fact that Helen Foster, like, that doesn't seem to matter that much because everybody in the town is dying. It doesn't seem to matter which house you're in.
Well, here's the thing about that to me is... I knew about 15, 20 minutes into this movie that's how it was going to end, that it's going to turn out that the house they're looking for is the house that they're in. Right? Like, there are a lot of things that are telegraphed in this. There's a few different things I want to talk about. Let me talk about the things I enjoy about this movie before I get into breaking down why it didn't work for me, and we talk about that stuff. As you said, the guy is great. With the spookums, like he's got some of those awesome, like almost like Mike Flanagan moments where the camera is moving, and if you're not quick enough, there's something in the background that you're gonna miss. There were a couple of times while I was watching this where I had to stop and run it back a few seconds because I was like, "Oh, what was that?" And I wanted to go back and make sure. And just good like jump scares that don't feel cheap. Right, like his work there at least feels earned. He's a good director, and I enjoyed the whole thing with the painting at that art gallery. I thought that was really effectively done, even though, once again, I knew exactly what was going to happen as soon as we saw them looking at the painting the first time. I thought it was really well done, and those are the things about this movie that I really enjoy. I think it's really, like, he's a good suspense spookums kind of director.
I will go ahead and say a couple things that I enjoyed then, and then we can save all our hatred for later. No, it's not a hateful movie. Just a little less than I wanted. Anyway, one of the things I really like is that this whole town is just in agreement that this is a reality and they just don't talk about it. There doesn't seem to be anybody being like, no, that's just a weird legend. Everybody's like, no, that's true. And what solidifies that is that art gallery scene that the one lady sees the painting change, or that woman show up in the painting, and they're just like, okay, everybody exit, and they all just leave, and they're okay with that because this is a thing. She is showing her presence, and the guy walks up and puts the drape over it.
Well, and
yes, JD, you look like you want to say something.
No, isn't there a part in here where they talk about the session in 1980 where the town council was trying to get the records unsealed, and all of a sudden Helen Foster showed up and they all died? Didn't they say something about how, like, that whole thing was, like, recorded or broadcast somewhere, and the entire town was watching it, and when what they saw, like, everybody in the room was gone, and it was just the council members and the ghost of Helen Foster? I remember something to that effect.
There's something like that, But you are thinking that somebody would see that and be in complete agreement that that is what happens. It's 2025. I know there are people who would see that happen, and half the town would still say it did not happen.
Yeah,
Plus,
I know
they
what
can't
you mean
cope
there,
with that level of fear.
That's fair.
They can't
that's
accept
fair.
that that's a reality. So the fact that they're just like, whoa, what was that?
What was that? It was Helen Foster.
What?
It was Helen Foster.
My cat just banged his entire body against the door, and I got so startled because I was not expecting it. And when I turned and went, what the fuck is that? but oh my god, you're right. Except unlike in this movie, when I turned and went, what the fuck is that? He realized I was talking at him and went, meow, from the other side of the door. But I needed to catch my breath for a second. Jesus
awesome.
Christ.
Yeah.
Samwise Gamgee, how dare you? He'll come in very soon. He's mad because it's been 2 hours since he's been allowed in my office and he wants cuddles. But yes, the fact that they all accept that is a cool thing, because definitely even in the most, like, a lot of stories where it's obvious something happened, they'd be like, no, I don't believe it. The TV glitched. So I like that. And then I like that this is told in 3 parts over the same period of time from different perspectives, and that each time we see a little bit longer what is going on until we ultimately no, we do not.
The Isabel section is the longest of the 3. I was actually curious about it because for some reason the Maria section felt very fast and shorter than the others, so I just got curious and I went back. The Chuck segment is about 20 minutes. The Izzy segment is, I want to say, 32 minutes. And the Maria section is actually longer than the Chuck segment. I think it's 22 minutes, but it felt a lot faster to me.
We interpreted what I was saying differently.
Oh.
Because I meant when we saw a little bit more, like we saw a little further down the timeline. I think Izzy gives us the most perspective. Maria's ends when she's scared and on the bed. Then again, that's kind of the same, just we see a little bit more because we see what happens to Maria.
I see what you're saying. I'm way too literal.
Well, actually, I went back and I pushed up my glasses and I measured the length of time.
Please continue.
It's this kind of thing that I would do, and you know that.
Make me feel bad.
No, we're just both gigantic nerds.
Gonna cry.
Good.
Oh,
good. I live on tears of my enemies.
Don't cry.
Don't cry. It's a waste of good suffering. But yeah, those are the 2 things. I was very excited when I saw it wasn't just going to be like a part 1, and this is the family that lived in the house, and now part 2 is the next family that lives in the house. Instead, it was actually their perspectives. And that was pretty cool. The fact that it like abandons that and just goes like, the 4th one is 825 Forest Road is just like, you went back to like, why?
I was expecting the 4th chapter, and honestly, because I do feel like the big conclusion is for me the weakest part of the story. I was starting to think, okay, the way this is going to end is the 4th chapter is going to be called Helen, and it's going to take us back, and we're going to get to see more of what the original events were that brought this whole situation about and tie that in somehow. And I feel like if they had taken the story in that direction, at least for me, it would have been a little more interesting. But yeah, the 4th title
sounds like it would be way more interesting. I could get behind that.
Yeah, and so when the title came up and it was like Chapter 4, 825 Forest Road, I was like, oh man. Also, because
stick with the very unique thing that's selling your movie to me.
You know me, I'm all a nerd about structure and symmetry and all that. So since the other 3 were character names, the fact that one isn't also a character name drives me bonkers.
It's not even like a character name issue. They just go, okay, no more of this unique perspective of seeing how one person sees something and then seeing somebody else, like watching them have that conversation. The unique thing about this movie is now done with.
For sure.
I wish it had been part 4, JD, and then it was just like you sitting in your living room watching the movie being like, what the fuck? Like, that would be a great horror movie thing if it just like hacked your webcam and just showed you yourself.
I actually just saw a movie, and I won't tell anybody the name of it because I don't want to spoil anything, but I just saw a movie where part of the conceit of the movie is it turns out the entire first half of the movie is you watching another movie being made, and I really enjoyed it. It was because the two halves of the movie play together really well. It was pretty rad.
There is one of my favorite horror movies of all time has that premise, and now I'm curious which movie you just saw.
How old is the movie you're talking about?
20 years.
Is it domestic or foreign?
I don't remember. It's in English.
Okay, then it's not the same movie. The movie I watched is not in English.
Especially curious what yours is. I will make a note and ask you afterwards because then I'm interested in that.
Yeah, but then if I tell you what it is, then like that shift is like that's a spoiler. That's why I didn't tell anybody the title.
But JD, I have a mental disability that results in short-term memory loss.
Okay, fair. I keep forgetting that.
You keep forgetting. Do you also have a head injury? Did you break a windshield with your face?
No, but when I have broken a windshield with the crown of my head in a car accident. I rear-ended a guy. Also, when I was very young, I went running across the street to go to this store we were in downtown Jamestown, and we were parked on one side. I went running across the street, but I had my head down and I wasn't paying attention, and somebody opened the door to the store as I was running with my head down, and I shattered the door of the store over my head. So there was those two things. Also, when I was like 3 or 4 years old, we lived in this house where the main entrance was garden level, so you went down a half stairwell to get to it, but then right next to it was like a full stairwell going up, so from the top to the bottom it was like a stairwell and a half. My brother had this great big piece of a tree. Somebody might call it a stick. It was more like a small branch about the size of a baseball bat, and he dropped it from way up there at the top, and it had a nice jagged edge, and it smacked me on the top of the head, and I had to go have stitches put in my head. So yeah, I've had some brain trauma. I've also done a lot of drugs. So yeah, I might.
We have entered the segment of the show where JD tells us all of his biggest injuries, and so I get to say one.
Well, those aren't remotely my biggest injuries.
Okay, well, the most head-related ones. I have some head-related injuries.
Michelle, I'm missing a toe.
Yeah, that's
well, I wouldn't say I've been missing it.
And that's not an injury. That was scheduled removal.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, wasn't it? I thought you had like a day in advance to prepare.
Oh yeah, but
like you had like that was scheduled. It wasn't like
we hadn't been planning on it for a couple of weeks. It's like, yeah, you know what? I just want 4 digits on this foot.
Exactly. It
Why?
wasn't cosmetic
Why not?
surgery.
Why not?
I do want to say one of my injuries, just because we're exchanging them. I grew up in a town surrounded by lakes, so I spend a lot of time on lakes, and it's very wintry here. And I was running on a frozen lake with one of my friends, and I biffed it, and I fell face first into the ice, and when I stood up, I had an icicle through my lip, like a piercing, and I still have a scar from it.
Nice.
That was cool.
Nice.
My friend was very freaked out that she could see my tongue through my lip.
That's awesome.
And I still think that's like really cool.
Oh yeah, it's rad. So anyway, we're talking about 825 Forest Road. So there's a couple of other things about the movie that I want to talk about. And so in general, I want to talk about we'll just jump into this one and then we'll get to the other one. I mentioned that there are a lot of things about this because part of what I was excited about was to see what he might do differently coming out of that found footage format. And first of all, even though like Hell House LLC is about like a haunted house that was built in an actual haunted house, it was an old hotel. It is to an extent a haunted house movie. It's more like a haunted town movie. But it is, the bulk of the movie happens in that one location. There's the whole thing with the, it's a dressing mannequin instead of a clown mannequin. That to me was like, okay, those are very, very close details, and I would have liked to have seen something a little bit different. But the other thing that struck me as I was watching it is initially I was like, oh, and then he threw in some of those live like vlog things as sort of a tip of the hat to found footage. But then as I was, especially in the more action, high tension sequences, it hit me that the vast majority of this movie is shot with handheld cameras, cinema verite style, like right in the middle of the action, like you mentioned. It's moving around in such a way that you might just catch things. And that's when it hit me. He just made another found footage movie. He just didn't make it using a camera that's supposed to be part of the situation. The way this movie is filmed is the same sort of technique. The camera is there. It's not like there are some shots where they do like a drone or some wider sort of fixed camera things, but so much of this movie is shot handheld in the thick of the action, Gonzo style. And I was like, oh, so it is in a lot of ways the same tactics and techniques as a found footage movie. He just did it where the camera is not actually part of the situation. And that to me was like, I already knew you were good at this, is kind of what it did to me. Is like, I already knew you had these skills. I was hoping to see something a little bit different.
That is interesting because did not even pick up on, this is kind of like a found footage movie. You're completely right.
The way it's shot, yeah.
No, of course. I know exactly what you're saying. I don't think I made that connection because those kinds of shots work for me in found footage. It didn't do anything for me in this movie, and it that kind of thing like very rarely does. I think it's one of those like super heavily used like movie tropes that now when I see it, I'm like,
sure,
of course, as we're sweeping around, we're gonna see somebody and be like, oh, there was a person over there that they didn't see, and it works in found footage because I feel like it feels more threatening when I feel like the camera I'm watching this through is part of this and I feel more involved in the action. Whereas this, I'm like, okay, they had an actor over there, and it feels so much less realistic to me.
Yeah. Well, and like that's obviously also found footage, like the cinema verite style was around long before found footage became a thing. The real the gimmick conceit of found footage that's real significant is the idea that the camera is being held by one of the characters and it's part of the story. The camera is part of the story and the way it's being told. It's self-aware, so to speak. And so, like, I totally understand how it ends up looking like that. I think what happened for me is because I was so much in that headspace of, okay, I've seen 4 movies this guy has done, and they're all found footage movies with this similar sort of style. And because I was specifically looking for a lot of differences, I think I hypersensitized myself to a lot of the similarities as well. It's so to say that, like, it's just another cinema verite horror film. It is what it is. I guess I was just maybe hoping we might get something, like, oh, here's like a crazy splatter monster movie or something like that, but
100%. I could see why he would want to stick with his strengths, but at the same time, like, this is your chance to make a big leap. It's a completely different genre. Or subgenre, you know what I mean. It's like a different style than you're known for. Style, try some of the stuff that you were limited by. And now, as you pointed out, it is a lot of similarities.
Now, I will say that again, and maybe we could talk about a few. He is really good at the suspense stuff. My favorite moment with that in this movie, there are 2 of them. The first one is just the first time Helen appears in the background while the camera is panning past as somebody walks by and she's standing in the back of a room out of focus in the back. I don't even remember specifically where it was. It's so subtle and so well done. It was the first time I had to be like, oh, I got to run back 3 seconds and see what did I see there that I think I saw there. And he does that very well, but interestingly, what I like about it is how I knew what I was going to see, and I still found some of it effective. Like with the painting, I knew what was going to happen there. The one I remember the best is when she's doing the live stream, and the dressing mannequin is right behind her, and the hand starts moving. Right? The hand just starts moving a little bit, and then she starts getting the calls from her her friend about like, yeah, and she's like, oh, I'll just answer this. She knows I'm on live stream. Why is she trying to call me? I'll just answer this later. And then you see like the hand, like that was so simple. And as soon as I saw the mannequin there and the hand visible on the side, I knew exactly what I was about to see, and it still worked perfectly for me. It was still really effective.
That was one of my least favorite parts of the movie.
Really?
That woman, no survival skills. You're live streaming, your sister calls you once. I get that you're like, oh, she knows I'm live streaming and like, oh, this is kind of ridiculous. Okay, I'll call her back later. She calls again and you don't assume somebody's in the hospital, somebody's dead. Like,
yeah.
You missed 2 calls that close side by side, you're not concerned. And then she gets a text message and reads it out loud and is then like, oh, I have to leave the house now?
Yeah.
It's just the dumb, like, lady, you are going to get murdered either by this mannequin or by somebody else because you are ignorant to your surroundings and have no idea what's going on and how to stay alive. It drove me crazy. I liked in the beginning with the hand moving. I was like, ooh, let's see. And then the sister calls, and then when she's like, she watches the live stream, I'm like, oh, so the people on the live stream, I forgot, because now we're doing like a found footage little segment.
Yep.
Like, I forgot they're watching this happen live. Crazy. And then when the second call happens, I'm like, come on. Like, if it was maybe somebody else calling, even that small adjustment.
That's my rule in life, right? If somebody calls once and I'm not ready to take the call, like if it's somebody I know, right? Like if it's, my mom or somebody, if they call once and I'm not able to take the call and I ignore it, if they call back again right away, I'm gonna answer it every time just to be sure.
Exactly. Yeah. And reading your text message aloud on live TV or live streaming, like that could have said anything like, hey, pretty girl, show me them tits. Like, you have no idea because you haven't read the text message, or else she read it really fast and still read it aloud, which is dumb. But that all drove me crazy. And there was one other small thing there, and it's gone. I will tell you fair. If I remember it. So, no, I did quickly remember it. Then she's trying to explain this to the husband, and he doesn't believe her, and I don't believe that nobody watching that live stream screenshotted any of this and sent it to her. Or like screen recorded. I would have started screen recording immediately.
Yeah,
so
for
that
sure.
She'd have that. And she didn't have any evidence to show her husband so he would believe her. Yeah. It's just such a trope of like, no, you're crazy and I don't believe you. Even though he completely believes this is happening in the town. He's bought into it. It's just a very dumb stereotype that happens in horror movies where it's like, you're just a crazy lady.
Yeah, for sure. So then, for me, the biggest issue with the story, the thing that pulled me out of it entirely, so that I couldn't get lost in it and just enjoy the parts that I did enjoy, is, so first of all, there's a line of dialogue, and this harkens back to what we were talking about how people don't talk like this. When Luke is talking to Isabel and telling her about the backstory a little bit of Helen Foster, he says she lived here about more than half a century ago. Nobody says that. They would say she lived here more than 50 years ago. Nobody would say more than half a century. However,
sounds spookier.
However, also in that conversation, he makes it clear that all of those records about the different cities and streets and stuff in the town were sealed by the city council or whoever in the early 1950s, which if this movie is happening in 2024 is 75 years ago, which means that the Helen Foster stuff is at least 80 years old. And at that point, you would be like, she was here almost 100 years ago. But those numbers are what I really want to talk about, and that is this. There is no way at all, no believable stretch of logic in any way, shape, or form that I'm going to believe that a double murder, triple murder, suicide, whatever, happened in a town in maybe, let's say, the 1930s or 1940s, and there's nobody in 2025 now who has any idea where that house actually is, because all the records were sealed up by the city council. Do you have any idea, first of all, how many records they would have to seal? How many records would exist that they don't have any access to or the ability to steal? The idea that this is a house that just disappeared from this town and nobody's been able to find it again, that over an incident that happened in the early to mid 20th century, is just absolutely absurd. Absolutely, fundamentally absurd. And I feel like this movie would have been significantly better served if the Helen Foster story / character was more like a 300 years ago or 200 years ago kind of thing, where it's feasible to think that maybe records about, or maybe there were no records, they just called it Forest Road. But then even on top of that, it's called Forest Road, and you're going to tell me nobody ever stopped to say, gee, I wonder where all of those power lines leading into the forest near that road are going to. I wonder if Forest Road is maybe the road in the forest. People have been looking for this place for almost 100 years and nobody's been able to find it. They walked in and it was pretty clear. That stuff I was so unable to buy. It was so absurd and such a profound failing of logic to me that I became completely detached. The movie ended up feeling like it was 2 hours and some odd long. The one thing that I did appreciate, because I thought it was the most sensible thing in the whole story, is when the guy's like, oh yeah, those dudes all think they've got some sort of secret club where they get together and talk about the mystery, but the whole town knows they do it, and we don't, it's whatever. That was the one thing where I was like, okay, I like that. That's a detail that makes sense. But it was just... And that's a thing for me. I can watch a horror movie like this and accept the supernatural elements because that's the world I'm living in, right? That's the pool. That's this pool we're swimming in. But I still need the story to make a certain level of sense. And I just didn't buy any of that at all. Rant concluded.
I agree with all of that, even though I didn't catch any of it.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
It's like how, and again, it's something that, as I sit here and think about it, like I said, could have been so easily solved by just making that character and those events something that happened significantly earlier. And that's what brings me to the ultimate conclusion that we both have already gotten to. And so I don't know why I say that's what brings me to, but I really hope that at some point Stephen Cognetti starts working with other writers. I feel like this movie could have significantly benefited from a story editor and just maybe a second voice to look at it and say, oh, maybe we don't want to do this. Maybe we want to come at it from this angle. I think what we see here is an example of what I talk about as like kind of the curse of the auteur, is they become so caught up in the idea of it being their vision and doing everything. The whole Robert Rodriguez, I directed the movie, I wrote the movie, I shot the movie, I edited the movie, I scored the movie, I did it all. And I understand where that drive comes from, but I also feel like sooner or later, if you want to have a certain amount of longevity, I think sometimes you have to recognize where collaboration can bring your game to a whole new level. And I kind of feel like after now seeing 5 features that he's done, that's where I feel like for him, like his directing skills are incredible. I'd like to see what he can do now, working with some collaborative partners to bring some other voice to what he's trying to do.
If a movie on IMDb only lists one writer and they're not somebody I know is a phenomenal writer, and that person is also a director, I always immediately take that as a red flag, because if there was somebody who gave you enough ideas and feedback and like insight about your script that changed it and enhanced it in a certain way. And if they did that, they're generally listed as a co-writer, and I don't mind a writer and director being the same with a co-writer, but it's like nobody questioned any of your decisions enough.
And there are certainly plenty of people who have proven that they are able to both write and direct on a level of quality that really complement each other. And I'm not even suggesting he's a bad writer. I'm just saying maybe he's a bit better director than he is a writer, and he could use somebody like, I think this was a good story idea. He just could have used somebody to come in and edit that story a little bit and tie up a few of those loose ends and make it a little bit more cohesive. I think a lot of that also would have made it a whole lot easier to chop 20 minutes off of this and make it a much better paced film.
I will never say that you cannot be a writer and director with nobody else's help on the movie, because the substance exists.
Oh yeah, and so every Ari Aster movie, you know, every so many people.
Some of those could have used a co-writer as well. Beau is Afraid, that could have used a little bit of help.
I mean, maybe.
I'm happy he gave us what he wanted to do. It's a movie.
It sure is a movie.
I don't even remember what I gave it. I know I didn't hate it. I liked Beau is Afraid, but it's a weird one.
If memory serves, the only real significant issue about it to me is it sort of plays in two different parts, right? And there's a shift, and then there's a shift back. And that whole middle section was just so... I don't know, it threw me for a loop. I kind of got tossed off the roller coaster for a little while there. But anyway...
It's going to be a Stephen King situation where 30 years from now, he's going to be like, I don't know, I was doing a lot of cocaine. I don't even remember making that movie. And that would explain that movie.
To try and keep it just a little bit still on topic, you mentioned in the Michelin review that his next film is another film in the Hell House franchise. He says it's going to be the last one, but this is also going to be not a found footage film, right?
Correct.
So now we'll see. I mean, we've already talked about pretty much the entire franchise of Hell House. Didn't we do all four of them at this point? I believe we've talked about. Yeah. So we'll also because it'll probably be a Shudder release. I'm sure we'll talk about it. But man, I really want to see what he can do with some collaborators.
It's strange to me that he's clearly making other movies that are not in a found footage style, and yet he felt compelled to close out a 4-movie series, now 5-movie series, in a completely different style.
Yeah.
And that alone makes me go like, huh. Because it's not like nobody else would buy the other movie rights and he's stuck doing this.
Well,
you have creative freedom to make other movies in a different style. Why are you changing it? And I know to him it's justified. But to me, as an outsider, I'm like, it's kind of a bummer.
It's another example of Chapter 1, Chuck. Chapter 2, Isabel. Chapter 3, Maria. Chapter 4, 825 Forest Road. You know, it's that same sort of thing.
One thing I'm hoping, though, is because of this movie, where a bunch of pieces did become found footage anyway, maybe we are going to get more like a hybrid. And he's still going to use his strengths to wrap it out. But yeah, it's just such a weird move. And we'll talk about when the actual movie comes out and I have an opinion about it. But it's so weird of just like, why did you make 4 found footage horror movies? And then you made a movie that's not found footage still chose to deviate on your found footage series.
Regular movie.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it's more power to the fella. Clearly, he's having some success, and we wish him all the best. I don't have anything else to say about 825 Forest Road. Michelle, do you?
The light bulb scene was great. That's my last one.
The light bulb scene was really good. Yeah. Also, when the creepy lady towards the end, that was the shot, actually, the sequence that made me wake up to like, oh, he's been shooting this thing like a cinema verite found footage. It's when Maria is having her super tense moment, and she's in the kitchen and she's down on the floor hiding behind and she crawls into the corner with the cabinets, and then Helen comes around the corner and then comes at her and it's like herky-jerky, weird, half-edited, kind of sped up, coming towards the camera. I fucking loved that. That was really good. Really well done.
Herky-jerky. Herky-jerky's a real good one.
Yeah, the guy does good spookums. I would just let's just get him with a more streamlined, a little bit more solid script and cut him loose.
If we get more of that light bulb scene, I will take back everything I said about it being weird that he's deviating from found footage for the last Hell House, and I will probably enjoy it because that part was my favorite part of the movie.
It was interesting with the light bulb thing.
And I had another one, but
what
I don't
was
remember
it?
what my other favorite was.
Oh.
I don't remember. I'm just like, I think I said something else was my favorite. So if I did, my bad. I had two favorites.
That's fair. The thing about the light bulb scene is obviously like, so the light turns on, she goes and turns it off, it turns back on, she goes in, takes the bulb out, brings it back and sets it down on her nightstand, and then the light turns on again. I was genuinely curious, like, is she gonna look down at her nightstand and the light bulb is gone and has somehow been replaced in the closet, or is the light bulb still gonna be there, and what the fuck is turning on in the closet? I think they made the right decision there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's much better because then there's more questions. It's not, the light bulb's missing. This mystery is answered. Instead, it's what is lighting
like why the
up?
fuck are the lights
additional.
on? Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that choice. I think that whole segment was
good spookums.
The most suspenseful and just really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. It was fine.
So, check it out, 825 Forest Road. If you have any feedback, let us know. We'll probably have a thing on the social medias about it to have people share their discussion.
Yeah, I gotta stay on top of making graphics and posting. I didn't know people cared so much about telling us their ththoughts, but several people have been like, you didn't post a thing that I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know you cared. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm on it.
John Humphreys needs you to make them post, Michelle. I could also be keeping an eye out and be like, oh, I noticed Michelle didn't get to it. I could throw a thing up there too.
I just forget short-term memory,
it's
and
fine.
I used to have a physical reminder the day after to make sure that I made a post, and then I went, that doesn't feel organic. That feels like marketing, and I'd rather do it organically.
I know.
So then I removed the reminder, and when I do it organically, it means I don't do it at all.
It means I don't do it. Yes. Yes, exactly.
This is natural for me. I'm not doing it.
I have a natural hatred of rigor and structure and planning, but it's the only way I get anything done.
My to-do list is wild. I write a to-do list, a physical to-do list every day, the day before, of when you wake up, despite what anyone says, these are the things you have to accomplish by the time that you go to sleep. And I will stay up as late as I have to get that list done. And there might be a few things that have to get added throughout the day, but like I get up and I'm like, you cannot go to bed before you have finished. This is how I do all the shit I do. You talk about how I'm too busy all the time. It's because I write a list and I go, you are not allowed to sleep, Missy, until these things are done, because I believe in keeping my word, and I believe in keeping my word even to myself.
So the TLDR version of that, by the way, is I'm able to do this because mental illness.
True.
True.
Yeah, Ritalin also has changed my ability to watch as many
I bet it has.
Because now I have to focus on them a lot more. I have to actually watch them and not multitask as much. And yay, my executive dysfunction is gone, but I want to watch 3 movies at once and completely understand what's going on in all of them again. Now I can only do 2.
If this is your first time tuning in to We Watch Shudder, yes, this therapy type portion always happens in the episode sooner or later.
Yeah,
sometimes it's strung out throughout the entire episode. The horror movies, frankly.
I mean, we did talk about suicide for a while.
We did. Well, we laughed about suicide for a minute there, and that was real weird.
Out of context, we laughed about suicide.
We laughed about suicide.
JD Provost. God.
Yeah, we're 2 weeks in there. This is the second of 5 consecutive weeks of Shudder original releases. I had Rule of Jenny Penn last week, 825 Forest Road here. Coming up next week, we have a movie called Shadow of God. I don't know anything about it at all, except it's called Shadow of God. What do you know, Michelle?
I will just go ahead and get ahead of your upcoming questions in general and say I know nothing about Shadow of God and Dead Mail, which is the one afterwards, but Free Walka I'm very excited for.
I wasn't going to ask you anything at all about Dead Mail and Free Walka.
I'm telling you anyway, but that will also be our 300th.
That's what I was getting to is, yes, next week, Shadow of God, dropping April 12th, 2025, 300 episodes of this goddamn thing.
And they're still not taking us down.
Michelle.
We're still here spitting the truth.
Michelle, 300 episodes. You remember when we had like 6? Remember when we released Mad God as like our 12th episode and we got like 20 plays in a week and we were like, holy shit.
Back when I used to record using my gaming headset.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first Spooktober
Jesus.
has some of my favorite episodes, though, because at the time we were still being openly mean because we knew nobody was listening, and there are some really funny episodes.
Oh, the Fried Berry episode is a gem. It's a gem.
Oh my God, Fried Berry.
I went back and listened to it, and I do think I did a good job of making it very clear that I didn't mean it in a cruel or malicious way, but I said a whole bunch of times about how dumb that movie is.
So funny.
Oh, yeah, it's a good episode. It's
I just watched another movie with that guy.
Oh, really?
From Fried Barry, directed by the same guy, and I just could not see him as anybody but Barry. That is Fried Barry.
That's fair. I mean, if you're gonna get typecast, that's the role that's gonna do it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he was also very similar in character mannerism.
Sure.
So I want that guy in more movies. Put him in Wicked Part 2. See what happens there.
What is the subtitle for Wicked Part 2? I don't remember. They gave it a...
More wickeding.
They gave
the Wick
it a...
and the Wick.
They gave it a name. It has something to do with the play.
Wicked Part 2. Uh-oh. More wickening.
Oh, no. It's called Wicked for Good. Wicked colon
too
for
good.
good.
Would have made a lot more sense. It's Part 2.
Wicked too good. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. Okay.
Like Fast and Furious style.
I don't have anything else to say. We've spent 2 hours recording here tonight. I still got episodes to edit. And am I going to post both of these tonight?
I don't know. That depends on how late you want to stay up. What I know is that I'm exhausted. I want to go to sleep, but I'm still going to force myself to play one campaign or one level of a campaign of Age of Empires because I didn't play it today because I was putting together my new laptop and I got to know how this sucker runs with a video game from 20 years ago.
You could like go to sleep and then do that when you wake up, right?
No, because if I go to sleep now, I'm going to sleep in. So I may as well, I'll wake up at 10 a.m. no matter what. So I can give myself more time being awake if I don't go to sleep until 4 a.m.
But then you're going to sacrifice 4 hours of sleep for something that you could just do after you get up at 10 o'clock and you have 4 more hours of sleep?
Yeah, because Wololo.
Well, I guess what I'm not going to do is have you say goodnight, so I guess say video games, Michelle?
Ooh, video games, Michelle.